We always talk about royalty, crowns, and politics of the 17th century, but what about the fashion in this era? Today, we would be talking about fashion in 17th century France. The 17th century was an era of grandeur, excess, and strict social codes, especially when it came to fashion. Nowhere was this more apparent than in France, where clothing was not just about personal style, but a symbol of status, wealth, and even political power. Under the reign of Louis XIV, fashion was a carefully orchestrated tool of influence, and every detail of dress carried meaning. Join us as we explore the dazzling court fashion, the modest attire of commoners, and the rigid sumptuary laws that dictated who could wear what. At the heart of 17th century French fashion was the royal court, where appearances were everything. Louis XIV, the Sun King, transformed Versailles into a grand stage where nobility competed in a constant display of wealth and refinement. Men's fashion featured brocade coats with elaborate lace cuffs, high-heeled shoes, often with red soles, a mark of aristocracy, and voluminous wigs, a style popularized by the king himself. Women's gowns were equally opulent, with stiff bodices, wide skirts supported by panniers, and intricate lace detailing. Colors and fabrics were carefully chosen. Only the noblest could afford velvets, gold thread embroidery, and fine silks imported from Italy and the Far East. Dressing well was not simply about aesthetics, it was a strategy. The Sun King encouraged nobility to spend fortunes on their wardrobe, keeping them financially dependent on the monarchy and too preoccupied with fashion to challenge his rule. While Versailles glittered with silk and jewels, the reality for most of France was far more restrained. The bourgeoisie, that is the wealthy but not noble, adopted a more refined yet conservative style. Men wore knee-length coats, waistcoats, and breeches, while women dressed in modest gowns with muted colors, often made of wool or linen. Unlike the aristocracy, their attire was practical and suited for daily life. For the lower classes, fashion was dictated by necessity rather than luxury. Peasants wore rough-spun fabrics, simple cloaks, and wooden shoes called sabots. Clothing was homemade or passed down, and extravagance was out of reach. The stark contrast between the nobility's excess and the commoner's modesty was not just a matter of economics, it was legally enforced. In 17th century France, fashion was more than self-expression, it was controlled by law. Sumptuary laws dictated who could wear what, ensuring that clothing reflected one's rank in society. Certain fabrics, colors, and accessories were restricted to the upper classes, while the lower classes were forbidden from imitating noble styles. These laws reinforced the rigid social hierarchy, preventing commoners from dressing above their station. They also played a role in economic policy, protecting domestic textile industries by limiting the importation of foreign silks. However, these laws were frequently ignored, with wealthier non-nobles often finding loopholes to display their affluence. Though centuries have passed, the legacy of 17th century French fashion remains undeniable. From the high heels of Louis XIV to the intricate lace and embroidery that still influence haute couture, the obsession with elegance and status lives on. What began as a strict system of fashion dictated by the monarchy evolved into the birthplace of a global fashion industry. Today, France remains synonymous with style, a testament to its opulent past. Though centuries have passed, the legacy of 17th century French fashion remains undeniable. From the high heels of Louis XIV to the intricate lace and embroidery that still influence haute couture, the obsession with elegance and status lives on. What began as a strict system of fashion dictated by the monarchy evolved into the birthplace of a global fashion industry. Today, France remains synonymous with style, a testament to its opulent past. Fashion has always been more than fabric and thread. It is power, identity, and history woven into every stitch. The grandeur of 17th century France laid the foundation for what would become the global fashion capital. Even now, Parisian designers draw inspiration from the lavish styles of the past, proving that fashion is not just a reflection of culture, but a driving force behind it. So, the next time you see a ruffled collar, a structured silhouette, or even a pair of high-heeled shoes, remember that their origins may trace back to the grand halls of Versailles. Fashion is history in motion, and every era leaves its mark on the next. Thank you for joining us on this journey through 17th century France. Be sure to like and subscribe for more historical deep dives.